Okay, so we are now in Chapter 2, and what I want to do is use the Meyers Creating Motion Graphics book, Chapter 2, and show you how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead and say open, I'm going to say open project, and I'm going to navigate to the DVD media, which I actually have already downloaded onto my computer. So I know it lives in the area that says chapter example projects, and the one we want is going to be the After Effects project, say example project AEP, and double click that and that should open it up. This wants to convert it to a new version of After Effects, which is fine because this is was designed with 5.5, and just say OK. And then you'll notice that it populated the project window with a whole bunch of things. So like as you read through the chapters, you're going to see that they give you different examples of things that you should be working with. So all the sources that you need to work with here are going to be in this folder here. Okay? Okay, if you take a look, you'll see in this window here it says resolution and quality, and underneath that example here where it says first comp, there's nothing in there, but in the second one here it says resolution and quality. If I double click these are icons that identify a composition. If I double click it, notice that it opened up this composition that's already in here. Okay, if I hit 0 on the number pad, I'm pre-rendering it, and you'll see that there are two layers in this window here, and this is composition 1, and notice it says resolution. That's that comp, and you can have more than one comp open at a time. So if I go ahead and double click that, now I can switch between these two different comps that are open at this moment here. Okay, and each one of these things can be manipulated and do whatever you want to do with them. You can have multiple comps that can be included in other comps. So I could take this comp, notice it's called quality, and I go to here's quality, and if I go into resolution, I can take this comp and drag it down and bring it in here as a comp onto itself. Okay, so now I have a comp within a comp, and that's called nesting. Okay, and so this might not be the perfect example of that, but just to give you an idea that if you have a very complicated sequence and you want it to stay as is, you can then bring it into another comp and use it as if it was just another layer. Furthermore, if you want to see two comps side by side in this window, and you have more than one comp that is currently open, here I have resolution and quality. If I want to see more than one open, I select the composition window, and I'm going to hit Command Option Shift N, and so now I have multiple comp windows. Notice that they're both resolution at the moment, and I can swap one of them out to be the other one. So now you see our two different comps that are open at the same time here. Okay, and depending on which one is active in the window, down below you can see quality is selected, and so when I drag things around, it's moving that one. If I click on resolution and bring it around, you'll see that since those are both resolution, then you'll see that one moving. So we can swap these out by clicking it where it says the name of the composition. Okay, another thing I want to point out here is when you look at this window over here, you're going to see this little doohickey here. Looks like a little sun. And then you're going to see this straight line over here. And that has to do with the quality. Now let's say this Digital Mavericks here is the graphics that say Digital Mavericks. And it's an AI file, which means Adobe Illustrator. Okay, so if I turn off the Gears movie, there's a little eyeball here. If I turn that off, now I'm just looking at that. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this graphic. If I hold in the space bar, it turns it into a little hand, and then I can drag it up, and then you can see what you're working on here. So I zoomed it in all the way. Let's zoom in even more. And so you can kind of see that it's kind of ugly there. With that window selected, Digital Mavericks, I select that. I'm going to go ahead and click that little button here. You'll notice when I turn it on and off, it changes it from a little bit fuzzy to a little bit sharper image, depending on what kind of font it is. And this is going to make the difference between it being pixels versus a graphic, a vector graphic. Okay, a vector graphic is going to be a much sharper thing. So as you zoom in really tight, you're going to see it looks a little bit better for the graphics that you're ultimately going to use. So be aware of that. Okay, as we start working through this, you're going to see that you're not going to be able to play your video in real time. Why? Because there's a lot of processing power that the computer is going through to take all these layers and play them back. And if that's the case, you'll notice over here where it says full. Right now that's showing me full resolution. Now let me repeat that. Showing you full resolution has no impact on what it ultimately is going to render out. Okay, so take a look at this, and if I change this from full to a quarter, let's say, you can see how ugly that gets. Now, why is that helpful? Well, because now it allows me to at least just see what the animation is going to look like, and notice how quickly it pre-rendered. That green line was created very, very quickly because it's automatically working it at a higher resolution. A lower resolution. So if I go ahead and put this back to a full size, change this back to full, and now when I try to pre-render it, you'll see it takes a little bit longer to generate that line. And I mentioned that little line over here. So, and let's go to the comp called quality, and if I go ahead and zoom in on this thing, you're going to see that the quality is at a high resolution, or it's a high quality right now. If I click on this so that it's a little dotted line and I zoom in, you'll be able to see that. Take a look at these edges over here. Okay, and then if I change this, notice how they get cleaned up. So there's 3 settings here, and again, you wouldn't want to render it out to look like this. So why is that even an option? Again, there's different strategies so that you can work as quickly as possible. If you're working it with everything at the highest resolution, at the best quality, and you have effects applied, you'll find that you won't be able to see things in a reasonable amount of time. And so this is just a way for you to change what you're looking at the moment to allow you to continue working on here. So notice that there's 3 settings here. There's the little dotted line, and that means it's ugly. And then you have the straight line, which means it's a higher quality version. And this little doohickey where it's curved is going to represent a mid-range there. So I typically, wherever possible, I like to leave it this way, but just understand what that purpose is over there. Okay, let me talk to you a little bit about the work area. Okay, and let's pull up this resolution one here. So if I am working with just this little section here, I'm going to hit the letter N I always think of it as N in end. And so this little gray area now is my work area. So this allows me to then do a pre-render. And if I do that, now it's going to loop over and over just this work area. Again, why do I want to do this? Well, you don't want to have to watch the whole video every single time if you're only working on this tiny little part of your comp. And so the work area allows you to just kind of focus on that part. And when you're ultimately done with it, you can, make it the whole comp if you want. But there's a way to render it out and just tell it, just give me the whole comp. Don't bother with the work area. But I tend to use these work areas all the time because I don't want to have to pre-render the entire comp. It slows down the process. Just show me this one little part here. That's all I care about right now. Okay, the other thing that I talked about in class the other day, in case you missed it, is this little button over here inside the comp window at the bottom. If you click on this, you can then select Title Action Safe, and now that's going to show me Action Safe, which is the window on the outside, and Title Safe is the window on the inside. Okay, so just be aware that that is at that point there.